How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, Rob.
How's it going? So Leonard, are you driving to San Jose Airport or something?
Yeah, San Diego Airport, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna have to let you guys go. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good show. All right.
All right. All
Thanks,
right.
Leonard.
All right.
We'll
Drive
do
safe.
it.
Have a good trip.
Awesomeness. So what is going on with you guys today?
Good. I'm good. Yeah, we just been through our rebrand.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen it on LinkedIn.
Yes. Tell me all about the rebranding. I want to hear about this marketing genius here.
So do you know what? So the business was called PERA, which was Latin, right? And it kind of meant, in short, prepared, ready, and skilled.
Okay.
So when I started the business 6-7 years ago, there was a big focus on kind of placing people like specialist interim people, right, who can come in and just get stuff done.
Yeah.
And then through the pandemic, I kind of reflected on where I wanted to go and kind of what I wanted to build. And I always had the vision of having a charter, like a DNA that defines us as us, how we interact, what we do, what we stand for. And that's where the name 5 Values came about.
Okay.
So 5 corner values that we have as a business, that we do, that we live by, that we want our customers to live by, that we interview people against. And yeah, that's where the name came, right? So 5 Values is our parent company, and we've got 3 subsidiaries: 5V Tech, 5V Video, and 5V Media. And 5V Media is where we're doing all the podcast content stuff now.
Okay.
So I'm really proud of it, and we're going through B Corp as well. So
yeah.
So we submitted our assessment in August, and we should be getting audited around February, March. Like, they're so busy right now, B Corp, with so many people coming through. Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like to have purpose and to have values and a vision as a business. So, I'm kind of like, I was a bit nervous because there's so many snags on the website and various things you need to get fixed, and undoubtedly things like slip through the floorboards, and you're like, oh crap, like I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But
you know what?
On the whole, it's cool.
I bet a whole lot of people in our audience have no idea what a B Corp is. Maybe
Probably.
You could tell everybody what a B Corp is and what you have to go through to become one.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, I will. Yeah. And thank you for the love on LinkedIn when you saw it. So you obviously know what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'll give a kind of potted history. So B Corp originated, I believe, in North America by 3 founders who decided that they wanted to have a business that had more purpose, that kind of left a legacy and did good in the world beyond just saying that they're going to do good. And I think there's a stark contrast between saying you're going to do something and actually doing it. So, yeah, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to do it. But anyway, so effectively what B Corp is it judges businesses based on their environmental, social, corporate impact and responsibility that they have.
Yeah.
Sustainability, and the purpose that they have as a company. So in order to go through this process, you have to submit documentation, you have to show proof of what you do, of what you give back, and you actually have to change what we have in the UK, and it's probably similar to company registers in different states in North America, the articles of your incorporation of the company, so the aims of the business.
Okay.
So it's a really intensive process. It's not just like a tick box, and you can't fake it. You really got to do it, and you really got to be in it. And effectively, your business then submits a report, and you get judged about whether you have met the requirements of a minimum of 80 points in different areas, in order to get certified as a B Corp organization. So yeah, some famous brands like Ben & Jerry's is like a famous B Corp business. But I think in general, there's 6,000 in the world. There's 1,000 in the UK. And just today we filmed with a B leader, which is kind of like a senior kind of PM type figure in the B Corp organization. And he was telling, in our kind of field and what we do, kind of recruiting, staffing stuff, there's only 8%, of those businesses that are B Corp certified. So,
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Everyone should look it up.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard about it over the years, and no companies have done it. I guess it's not enough to say don't be evil when you start your company to be a B Corp. I'm assuming Google's not a B Corp in spite of that.
But do you know the funny story? So Nespresso is B Corp, right? Oh. Now Nestle as a parent organization, has a bad track record, right? I'm just going to say it. I'm not even going to be diplomatic, right? But Nespresso was able to become B Corp as an independent entity, and the hope is that it can affect other subsidiaries of Nestle, or maybe try and have an effect in those other brands that have had a bad reputation for not doing the right thing.
Right.
And I think that's the good thing with B Corp. You can't just tick a box. You really have to do it. And you've got to get better, Rob, right? So you've got to submit a report every year. You have to get better. So it's no good kind of just being the same grading. The grades have to get higher, otherwise you lose the status.
Okay.
So
wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's full on, but I think a worthwhile thing.
I spent a lot of time.
Tom. Yeah, but the question here, Tom. So if there are not that many companies, right? They're B Corp. What made you really, really want to do this?
It's a good question. I think primarily I wanted to build something that I wanted to build an organization that I would be proud that my niece and nephew could work at in the future. And for me, that they mean the world to me, right? So is my business doing something purposeful? Is it doing something good? And what is the barometer for that, right? Like, how do you actually know you're doing something good? Well, you kind of have to look at other people in a community, i.e. a B Corp community, and see if you're actually doing as good as you hoped that you were going to do. And that was one of the reasons. But also to kind of put ourselves on a parapet to say, well, you say you're going to do good, so are you actually going to do good? And actually have people challenge you for it, and to make you a better you. And that were the main driving reasons.
Oh, because there's a lot of work, definitely, to become one, and to so you have to be dedicated. You have to believe in it, be dedicated, and work at it continuously, like you described. No, I wasn't familiar with it. I've heard the term, but that's about it.
Yeah. Hi, Bill.
What's up?
What's up?
Here he is.
Mr. Dallas Cowboys. He's been filling in for Dak Prescott,
Yeah, right. Oh, so you're to blame.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ride or die. It
ride or die.
Matter what they're doing. For the past 26 years, every year we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how the Dallas Cowboys can be the highest value sports club in the world in spite of not making it back to the Super Bowl since the mid-90s.
You know what? If they became a B Corp, they just might.
There you go. There you go.
Nice. How you doing, Bill? You okay?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm well. I'm living. Everything's good.
There you go. He's alive. He's got a roof over his head. Had something to eat today. In the big scheme of things of the whole big world, that's pretty good.
And the nice stove behind him with a nice.
I know. I'm in the kitchen again, right?
Yeah, I see that. I love that hood there.
Yes,
thank you very much.
And we love the backsplash that you did. It's very lovely. Yes.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to seem creepy or anything, but yeah, that looks good.
It does look good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Like we're all creepy as you show us around your new house, Bill. Like, oh.
I mean, it's a little bit different when you're talking about 680 days to complete a build.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And that's a long time in Texas, too. Because Texas, they throw them up fast because you have lots of sun and lots of labor to build houses. I'm accustomed to it taking forever in the Pacific Northwest because it's raining all the time or whatever. Probably like where you are, Tom, it's like it's not perfect weather to build houses all the time.
Yeah.
No, they had a lot. They had a lot of problems getting the trades out here to do things, and the builder kept saying, "Oh, it's all your customizations. Oh, it's all this. Oh, it's all." I'm like, you guys knew about this when we signed the contract.
Yeah,
you knew exactly what we were building, and so get out of here with that. That's what it is.
Exactly.
So, finally, after 680 days, we're in and starting to try to fill the house up.
It sounds like you need to fill up the room that you're in. I'm here. It's very echoey.
It is. Trust me. For me, I'm like, wait a minute. Should I just talk lower?
Oh my gosh! But you're loving it. It looks beautiful. What you've shown so far.
Oh yeah. No, we've got people starting to get scheduled to come in so that the smarts can be put into the home. So that'll be exciting.
Smart stuff, huh? Are you going to share with us what tech you're going to put into your house? What smart home stuff you're going to do, or is that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything is connected except for the microwave.
Okay.
That's so the refrigerator's
connected. That's impressive.
Washer, dryer, the oven, everything.
So why not the microwave, Bill?
They didn't have a Wi-Fi enabled microwave.
Right. Okay. Well, there's a product right there for someone listening, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone needs to develop that.
They didn't even have an Ethernet microwave.
That would be even better.
I think you said, did you wire the whole house with Cat 6 or?
Cat 6.
Okay.
3.5 miles.
3.5 miles of cabling. Wow.
That's impressive.
And so you got 3.5 miles of cabling in all your walls and drops all over the place. And then what kind of Wi-Fi did you put in, or are you going to put in?
Oh my goodness. So I forgot which one they said they were putting in there, but everything in the network closet is enterprise level. Okay. So I've got Cisco switches and routers. Yep.
You didn't go to Staples and buy a Netgear thing, did you?
No. And I've got VLANs. I mean, we were going through the network architecture and everything. It's a knock.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's
Can
why
I ask a question, Bill?
Yeah.
That's why it took 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Do you know what? It's really interesting, right? I speak to obviously we speak to a lot of people in Wi-Fi, right? In that industry, involved in that industry, and no doubt you've got Wi-Fi 6, in your house being plumbed in, enterprise grade. But still, it's kind of funny, right, that we're still plumbing in Cat 6 when we've got to that level. Like I understand it, like I know the reason. But you'd have hoped that by now we'd got to the point where we didn't have to do that, because that is an effort, 3.5 miles of cabling, right? It's crazy that we're still kind of in that position. I just had a watch guard put in my office and some other bits and pieces, and it's fantastic equipment, but we still got RJ45 ports around the office and we're still using them. And you just think, well, why are we still here,
Well, I mean, it's a lot of it is driven. So like, I want, how many TVs do we have? 1, 2, 3. We have 10 televisions throughout the house.
Wow.
And they're all 4K. So if you're streaming something 2160p.
Yeah.
That's going to take up a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And then if you're walking around, so there's how many wireless APs? There's 2 outside. There's security cameras all around the house on the outside. So it covers the entire perimeter. Touchless keypad entry, so fingerprint recognition. So everything needed to have a reliable connection, something that I knew was going to be solid. So I went with the trusted, wired it up. Everything that I could think of, wire it up. There's an Ethernet port, if not 2, in every single room.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in spite of what people believe about the real world, since they're not Mr. Smart City, and they don't know about the importance of having that amazing layer cake. Like we talk about wireless, but wireless is made of wires.
Absolutely.
That's what I was thinking too.
If you're in the telecom space, like when we talk about what's it take for someone to build a smart city or even a smart little community, and guess what? It starts with fiber under the ground, and it turns into gigabit or 10 gigabit Ethernet, and you slowly build this layer cake. Your bedrock, your foundation has to be wired, because wired is still the best, most reliable way to do anything. It sucks. It's a pain in the ass, but it is.
It's the most reliable. And when you say foundation, I'm 100% on board with you. So the wired piece of it is the foundation. The next level on that is the security. I mean, I've got in the closet, I've got an HSM, so a hardware security module, and then everything is TLS, DTLS handoffs. I mean, we're going all the way through. So, and then even to protect the people that are coming in, that'll say, can I get your guest password or whatever it is? Then I'm securing them from a privacy perspective as well.
Right. Yeah, so, you're taking care of them too. That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what? I think that's really interesting, right? You mentioned, Bill, from a security perspective, you're right. You got, unless you physically get into that wired network, you're not going to be able to do it over the air, using packet sniffers or whatever. And I think that's the crux of the problem, isn't it? From a security point of view.
Absolutely. Any guest that comes in will not touch the wired network. It's totally segregated.
Okay, so the guest Wi-Fi, does that just route you straight out to the internet and doesn't let you see anything inside the house? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I remember a long time ago, like a lot of us were deep in the mobile space and doing enterprise mobility type things for companies, and it's a lot of the stuff you're talking about. And there was always this notion, lots of companies have a guest network for when visitors come. And a lot of the thinking around security too was as people were doing more and more with mobile, and then as IoT was kind of coming along a little bit at a time, and people putting devices inside, just say inside an enterprise, for instance. I certainly remember the hearing guest network just kind of resonated with me. It's like, well, let's make sure those IoT devices in the enterprise are on that guest network, and they're not part of your big, because a lot of people don't really know what they're doing when it comes to doing segments of networks and stuff like that.
Well, and that's an important thing, because if someone has a router and they're just like, oh, I've got 3 networks, I've got 2 2.4s and a 5 gig or something like that. And I'm just going to use this one for that. Well, I'm like, it's still coming back to a central point. You can have 3 radios. It doesn't matter. It's still coming back to a central processor that is dealing with that.
Right.
And so I wanted everything 100% segregated. And then, like I said, you can come in, and a lot of times people do this, right? Remember this network. And then when they come back over, they're like, oh, I'm back on. Nah, not with mine. You leave, your credentials are gone. So you have no credentials. You will have to be re-authenticated when you join that network again.
Right. No, that's good. Just talking about this. Go ahead, Andreea.
I'm not coming to your house to say.
Uh-oh. Andreea became a frozen person.
That's it, just once.
Wait, say that again, Andreea? You froze.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but your face is frozen.
I stopped the video.
Okay. No worries.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, my internet connection is unstable. I just got a message on the screen.
Oh, okay. You need some fiber.
You don't want to know. You don't want to know what I have here.
She's got
it's embarrassing.
DSL, or she's got dial-up.
No, cable.
Okay.
Cable.
Yeah.
Yes, cable. And it does this all the time. No, what I was saying, Bill, is I'm only visiting your house once. I'm not coming the second time. I'm not going to go through this a second time. That's it.
It's easy. It's easy. It's just, I'm protecting you and your data. That's what I'm doing.
Yes. And you're in Texas. We must be visiting you. You're in Texas. You can't be far.
Exactly. So, I mean, the other thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to is, when they get their ISP, like around here, it's Spectrum. Spectrum is like.
That's who I have here. Yeah.
Right. So, a word of knowledge here. Take their stuff and don't let it be smart. Don't let it grow a brain. And do everything else. So use them as just the pipe.
Yeah.
Put them in bridge mode, and then get your own router or routers and run the signal that way. If you do that, then now you have full control of your local area network. You have a LAN at that point, and you're just using them as backhaul.
There you go. Words of wisdom. Don't let them be smart.
Don't let it grow a brain.
Don't let it grow a brain. I think that's the big takeaway. Don't let it grow a brain, because bad things happen. It's kind of like the trouble with tribbles. Nobody got that. Leonard's going through the San Diego airport, I take it. Yeah.
With the mask on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'm on my way to Houston for 5G America. So
wow.
Oh, nice.
It's crowded. Look, the pandemic is over.
How long are you going to be in Houston, Leonard?
I'll be there for 2 days, today and tomorrow, and then just fly back.
I think it's
in the afternoon.
It's a really
5G Americas, you said?
5G Americas, yeah.
Is that the analyst forum?
The big analyst forum, yeah. Analyst summit
in Houston.
Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, not Houston, Dallas.
That's right.
Dallas.
That's why I'm you're going to be here. It's in Irving, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we're meeting tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, are you going to be there?
Well, no, I'm not going to be there, but I live here close to Irving.
She's going to just drive up curbside.
Drive by. Oh my God, that would be awesome.
She's going to take you to get margaritas.
Yeah, something.
There you go. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I used to go to these analyst forums many years. I did. Yeah, so great memory.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, since you're local there, I mean, albeit there's a ton of Ericsson people who live in the Dallas area, right? But it's a cool conference. It's really, Chris Pearson, who's the president of 5G Americas, he puts on a great analyst event. So yeah, I've been going to it for about 4 years now. So yeah.
All right. So right after I stopped going. You started right after I stopped going. My last one was in 2016.
Yeah. Bummer. Well, we could have
when I moved to Canada.
Yeah. So I have no idea what they have in store this year. It's just so many events all of a sudden, just all kind of clumped together. So
you seem to be traveling a lot, Leonard.
I am. I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 weeks. So I'll be out of town, and then I get a little bit of break. And then in December, I have 1 or 2. So yeah, it's like they say, it's a little bit of the analyst life. You have to kind of be at certain places to get the key insights and meet the right people, and then have some of those serendipitous meetings, where it's like, hey, I had no idea this was going on, and
right.
Yeah,
those are usually the big key ahas, right? You can pretty much Google everything else. It's and getting back into it, right? I mean, Rob, a lot of you guys have been traveling and going to conferences, and Rob, you were just at last week you were at the Edge Computing World, right? Conference. I mean, dude, how much did you learn just being there, right? And a lot of times what you learn is out of sessions, because a lot of that is marketing.
I
you
think
go into
it's I think kind of you said the serendipitous, the just the meetings with the people and the conversations is probably because those of us here on IoT Coffee Talk already know everything about everything. And so when we go to these events, there's really nothing they're going to tell us that we don't know. Like when you go to 5G America, is this going to be, oh, it's faster, blah, 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 lower latency, blah, 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 blah. You know, you're like, no information for me. But you'll talk to people.
Yeah, but exactly. You talk to people who belong to other groups who know everything.
Yeah. And then, and depending on who you meet, like, I was at the Ericsson event yesterday. They have a whole new series called Ericsson Imagine Possible. Yeah. And so I hung out with, actually, the first person that I met was Eric Ekuden, who's the group CTO. And I just had like a killer conversation with him.
Eric is awesome.
Yeah, he is. He's really, and it was cool because he might kick my ass for saying this, because I know there's some Ericsson folks who watch our show, by the way. I made him uncomfortable a couple times, which produced some really cool conversations. Yeah, it's like going in there and ass flunking all the time doesn't get you anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just have to talk through the issues and
did you ask him about the report? The report they issued yesterday on 5G?
Yeah. Jasmeet Sethi, who I met, he produces the report, and so he's going to send me the link. I'm just so much crap I have to read through. It's like hard to read everything, right? And find time to read everything. But I'll take a look at it, and we'll see what's inside. So,
Leonard, what event are you going to be at while the rest of us are in Austin in a couple of weeks? Are you in Dallas or something?
Oh, in a couple of weeks. So next week I'm at a Lenovo event.
Okay,
4 days. It's a pretty amazing opportunity there to just get a boatload of information about what they're doing, also providing feedback. It's like an analyst event. And then there's the week after, I'm going to a Honeywell event. So they have a big Connect event, and so there's several new business units I'm gonna be introduced to, so it'll be fun. It's pretty amazing. Some of these old school guys, they have a lot of stuff going on, and when you dive in deep into their platform strategy, it's actually pretty cool stuff. It's like what I've said before, these guys are not dummies. Yeah, they're really freaking smart people that are pretty resourceful. They've kind of had to, because safety. These things like safety, automation, all these things are really tough businesses when you have large customers that have large liabilities and large bottom lines that they have to manage to. So. The bar is set high. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. Sometimes I wonder how the IoT community, in many respects, makes it look like the bar is low. It's like, no, the bar is high. And some of the old dinosaurs actually have game. The more I look at it, and you can talk a lot about how the cloud is going to disrupt this and that, but it really isn't, and it really shouldn't. I think we need to look at technology as the way that we've always looked at technology, as enablers, and not necessarily things that completely dismantle certain frameworks that were smart to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Which is one of the reasons why I'd love to have a discussion at some point about these this whole thesis that's starting to form that cloud is disrupting or dismantling or disaggregating or making irrelevant the Purdue model. It's like, hey, let's talk about that, because I personally think it's one of those classic mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Where we're taking certain types of technologies that everyone is touting as being disruptive XYZ and inappropriately claiming that it's making certain legacy artifacts or architectures irrelevant. And, historically, so, I don't think we've ever seen that that's the case.
For our audience's benefit, they probably don't know what the Purdue model is. Are you talking about kind of the way their architecture for kind of industrial IoT type of
0,
stuff?
1, 2, yeah, exactly.
And the cloud disrupts it because you're just going to go straight to the cloud and bypass all those layers.
Yeah, or it's going to be, the architecture is going to be so composable and disaggregated and blah, blah, blah. That you don't even have to worry about the layers. Do you know what I'm saying? And
but I think there are people who are, disrupt might be a strong word, but they're certainly not following that model when they do those architectures. Yeah. You could make the case. I mean, I think that's actually worthy of a good discussion. Because there's also the point of view is like, just because that's the way they've always done it doesn't mean that that's the way we should do it. If I think back to, like, I put the Ericsson hat back on, like we would work with Grundfos, which is in Aarhus, Denmark. They're the world's largest pump maker. And normally they would probably follow a model where stuff's going through PLCs and stuff like that. There's pumps all over the world, under every city, under everything. The whole world runs on pumps. You just don't see them and don't realize them. That's how you get water moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
But to a point of disruption, and I remember at Ericsson, we were working specifically with them, probably because they're just across the water from us there, is putting cellular modules and connection management technology into their pumps so that they just bypassed all those layers that you're probably mentioning and go straight to the place where they're capturing the data and doing analytics on it and deriving insights. And so it wouldn't surprise me to see different groups, especially people who don't know what they don't know. And I'm not, Grundfos is not one of them. They know their stuff. But there's a lot of people who are like having to ask why. Why am I still having to do it the same way? When I've got the capability to bypass all these steps and jump. I had some guy comment on something I posted, I don't know, from last week. And he just made some comment about flattening. He's like, way to go, Rob. We got to flatten the IoT model, And what he meant was sensor to cloud directly. And I think he was kind of just talking about bypassing all those steps and going straight to the cloud. This probably also sounds like, what did we call it? Shadow IT. Remember, like when you had the BYD and you had all the stuff with devices, smartphones?
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's lots of people who's like, I'm going to bypass your entire network architecture if I'm using cellular or whatever, and I'm just going to jump straight to where I want to go.
How do you secure this? Rob, how do you secure it?
How do you secure it?
Yeah.
Differently. Maybe not as well.
Not as well, yeah. Besides, not as well.
Well, you secure it first and foremost by the endpoint, right? Whatever that endpoint is.
So the sensor?
That's the first
security in the sensor?
Security there. It has to be there.
Yeah. Well, it has to be secured somehow. Maybe not at the sensor level, but you have layers. And so, and that's what I'm talking about. Rob, you're totally right about that whole friggin', citizen IT stuff, which is why everyone's trying to move back to this whole idea of no code, low code, right? It's like, hey, if you're going to just create a bunch of shit, why don't we have like a common framework that it can not only be portable but controllable by the enterprise? And that the problem with citizen IT is that at least before a lot of these let's rein them in principles started to come into vogue, shit was all over the place, right? Yeah. I mean, and it created a mess.
I'm going to blame for
clear.
I'm going to tell you who I'm going to blame, dude.
Gnarly mess.
Do you know who started this whole mess? Salesforce.com started it at the beginning of this century because they went to a total hosted cloud model. It didn't disrupt it didn't just create shadow IT, but it also disrupted, like me being a longtime Microsoft guy, we would always go talk to the IT department and the CTO and the CIO to sell our software. And with the rise of Salesforce, all of a sudden, Salesforce bypassed the IT department and went right to the business units.
Yeah.
And it disrupted.
You're right.
It disrupted everything. It disrupted the sales model.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, people are like, maybe I need to talk to the
consumable IT.
I need to talk to the VP of sales. Maybe I need to talk to business unit leaders because this technology is bypassing IT completely. As soon as everybody had Wi-Fi that was going straight to the internet, it's like, it's over, baby.
Dude. Yeah. And dude, I don't think a lot of people remember that. I mean, if you were there and then when you saw this thing coming, that was what was happening. I mean, don't get me wrong. Salesforce.com is a cool ass company.
What does every VC want you to do? What does every VC want you to build? They want you to build a SaaS software startup that bypasses all that shit. It's a subscription or consumption model, so you get that ARR. Yeah. That's what VCs want you to do because that's where the money has been. I don't know if it'll be there forever, but at least right now it is. What do you think, Bill?
Well,
no, I think you're right, but to be honest, I want to go back to Leonard's statement about securing at the sensor. I think you unequivocally have to secure at the sensor level. I don't care whether it's battery operated, whether it's powered or what. You have to have the hardware layer of security first and foremost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Secure that.
You have to.
Right.
So what does that mean to you? Does that mean some kind of X509 certificate? Is the identity created by software or does the identity come from something in the hardware? Do you have to demand that whatever connectivity you're using allows you to do firmware over the air updates and stuff like that?
It's a combination, right? Because it's a mechanism that actually works. When that device comes on and says, hey, I'd like to join your network. Now you have to have that exchange that says, who are you? What's your identity? And what purpose, what role do you have on this network? Yeah. And then it has to be checked against a certificate authority that then says, okay, here's your driver's license so that you can drive on this on this network.
On this road. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's why I'm saying a lot of what we see in the Purdue model still persists in principle. You just can't think in terms of sensor the cloud and boom, you everything. Because if you ask what the purpose of the Purdue model was or is, I mean, there's a huge security element to it. There's a resiliency element to it. There's a lot of principles that it tries to encapsulate and call them good practices that can guide system design, right? Infrastructure design and design of security. And so, rather than suggesting that you're abandoning all this stuff, it's, hey, how do we look at how do we factor in things like cloud computing models, cloud native, and see how that it creates different options and how we can implement and deploy, but it doesn't render the framework inert. Do you know what I'm saying? In fact, the more you talk to people, it's like, no, this stuff is still, what is all this disaggregated? You still need to figure out, even if you're going to disaggregate things, how to secure every single level. I mean, the perfect example, I bring this up all the time, oddly, is what they're trying to do with OpenRAN. It's like, okay, through this disaggregation, it doesn't mean that, you don't have to secure from the radio all the way up to the core. It's just logically it's going to look a little bit different, but the fundamental principles of what you need to secure and the layers, going back to the layer conversation, cloud has never dismantled any of these models. In fact, it's based on a lot of them. So, I think this is where, again, vendors might be misguiding and misleading technology leaders down the wrong path by making suggestions that you can virtually or with software secure everything. To your point, Bill, root of trust is based on hardware. It's a software that allows you to basically administer this stuff and can help you manage it and broker identity and all that stuff. But the root of trust is you want it on hardware. It has to be on hardware.
Yep.
So how do you dissociate all these the physical from the digital, or the digital from the physical? It's all combined. I think this is where we go back to these the older thinking about industrial systems. They still apply. Do you know what I'm saying?
But you know what?
It's
we
just
need to blow the
different
whole thing up, dude. Let's just blow it up. Because you know what happens with all that stack that's in there, that model follows? Cost.
Yeah.
And most people who are in business want to remove cost. And so if you can find a way to give them the security they want and take out 10 layers of crap in the factory, they're probably going to go for it. And I think that's the business we're in, of creative destruction all the time is happening. And so, but some people will stupidly take shortcuts along the way, and they'll have security problems. And I totally get that.
But I think that's the big point right there.
What do you think, Tom?
You were going to say something?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with the IoT Security Foundation, right? And this is interesting to talk about security from a hardware perspective, because, zero trust principles, right? Creating a root of trust from a hardware perspective is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not sexy though, right? And so people don't tend to do it, and it's an afterthought. And that's been a lot of the issue that we've seen. It's just that the security is so weak from a hardware perspective that people are trying to software define that security, which is just not really the best way to do it, because you haven't thought about it from the design principle upwards with the sensor. Yeah, and I think the other issue that sometimes people see, and I hear a lot, is it's fairly arbitrary security because of the complexities of the device, right? We used to talk about resource constrained devices, right? But sometimes these sensors now can have quite a bit of RAM, they can have quite a bit of stuff going on. So you can do a bit more of them now than you could do, say, 10 years ago. But I think the mindset still isn't there to start talking about security at a hardware level and then build on top of it. And I think the IoT Security Foundation, they talk about this a lot. And this is the problem that we see and that we hear a lot all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
well, it's
really good point.
No, it's a good point, and I totally get where you're coming from, and yet people just don't do it. And people I know who tried to go medieval on security and IoT 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they all failed, and they're all out of business because they made it so hard that no one ever built any IoT solutions. I've discussed this before. When you think about the starting point of Azure IoT and AWS IoT Core, we both got started around the same time. Azure IoT, we started security with these, they're called shared access security, they're tokens. Basically just a unique identifier, blah, blah, blah thing. Amazon said, nope, the only way you can talk to our system is with X509 certificates. One of those went into the stratosphere, and the other one didn't get off the launch pad. Can you guess which one did better? The one that used the security tokens and not the certificates. And why is that? One was infinitely harder to do than the other. As I remind people all the time, IoT projects are built by developers. You remember Steve Ballmer? Developers. And anything you do to make life harder for a developer, they will follow the path of least resistance at their own peril. And so if you show them an easy way to connect and a hard way, they're going to go with the easy way to connect. And so you need to build that into your thinking. You need to make sure it can be somehow easy while still being secure.
Yeah.
You know how people talked about security guys in IT department. Remember they started calling IT department the Department of No? Oh, those security guys won't let us build anything. We might as well just go home because nothing's ever secure enough for those guys. Well, nothing's changed in that realm. You know, that's still a thing. Whatever
it'll
it is.
It'll never be. I mean, you know, you'll never have the nirvana of security. It's an ever-changing element. People are looking for attack surface. People are looking for opportunities to exploit. And so it will never be the nirvana, you know, you'll go do this and this is your end all be all solution for security. Security is a practice that continues over time.
Yeah.
Right. But then you do run into volume issues. And when you have enough insecure systems out there, just a bunch of crap, quite honestly, they become problems. Because so now if you look on the regulatory front, you see a lot of these insecure applications or privacy last applications now starting to cause harm. So how do you put the genie back in the bottle? And I think, Rob, you're touching on a really great point. Developers will build anything and they'll follow the path of least resistance. That's true. And oftentimes, and I posted this on LinkedIn, you will never see a presentation where security is put first. Always the last bullet item. Meaning, by the way, we really don't give a shit about this stuff, but I'm going to put it on here.
It's just not cool.
It's someone else's problem. It's someone else's problem as well, right?
You're right. And it's not cool.
Yeah.
But it's someone else's problem.
Right.
Someone else's problem. It's not cool. It's not sexy, you know?
Right. And this is, I told an executive this. It's like, and to your point, this is a rebuttal to your point, Rob, but you know how we are on IoT Coffee Talk. But here's the thing. Most developers develop crap. I'm sorry, developers, you do. You are on the long tail of value, meaning there's a hell of you and you produce a bunch of junk. So, get your act together, find purpose, build something real. Then there's a very small number of, a relatively small number of developers who develop valuable apps. And I think we can't conflate these developer community sizes with actual quality of applications and value created through the platforms or the software technology that around that the developer community uses. And one of the things that I find missing all the time, and I think they should add this to DevOps, is testing. So they should call it DevTestOps instead of just DevOps. Because in my experience in enterprise IT and working with a lot of different teams, is testing usually gets scoped out. People don't know this. It gets scoped out. And we've had projects where the customer would literally say, why are we spending so much money on testing? It's like, well, you want to make sure the software works, right? I said, well, we don't want to pay for that. And they would literally scope it out. It's true stuff. So think about decades of this mentality of completely deprecating or just eliminating test efforts.
But they don't want to pay for
automation. They want to talk about automating development. Well, let's talk more about automating testing and, actually instituting testing, quality, QA, these things that, they've been bypassed. And for the IoT, please, come on, give me a break. What are we putting out there if we don't put testing and security first, right? Which, anyway, I'm going to stop.
That's a big surprise to me, right? Coming from the wireless world, testing is super important. And even if, customers don't want to pay for it, but even when they don't want to pay for it, they still want it done.
Yeah, and
you have to figure out how to put in the business model.
And that's why the IT world, the CT world, when the IT world and the CT world come together, the CT folks are going, what the hell do you mean by you can release features every day.
You know what? The good old days at Microsoft, you had a software development engineer, an SDE, and every engineer was paired with an SDET, which is basically a tester. In the good old days, it doesn't exist now at Microsoft anymore, but every developer had a tester paired with them. And they were testing everything they did every single day. Because you have billions of people using the software, right?
Yeah, extreme programming model. Yeah.
But along the way, lately, they're like, well, maybe we can use machine learning to do testing. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
But automated, Leonard mentioned. Automate the testing.
Yeah, create the test, then build the software and build it. Yeah. There's so much involved there.
People often see testing. So from my point of view, from a kind of resource point of view, when we've done large scale projects, people often see testing as an afterthought, right? And trying to get the developers to do most of it, or set it up, using Python to kind of run some automation rigs, etc., and do it in a really kind of hand-fast way. Because the UAT side of it, they give to the end customer to test, right? And they don't fix it until that person fixes the bug. Right, it's like if you go and buy a car, right, would the salesperson tell you about the scratch, or would he wait until you find it? Yeah, and I think that's the same methodology sometimes with testing, which is a bit crap, to be honest.
It is crap. It's so crap.
And Tom, he made a key point, dude. That is so spot on. You use the users, your customers who are helping you with UAT. Freaking test that stuff. And it's not even the testers. Sometimes there's no UAT testers. You're using the customer.
But you sign up for that, right? You sign up for that. There's a little button that you click when you do things, literally, and there's like, would you like to be a beta tester? You're not a beta tester. You're an alpha tester. You're gonna report all of these things. You're gonna send logs. They're gonna create JIRA tickets. The developers are gonna go and fix them. You are the acceptance test.
Yeah. It's pathetic.
Only on IoT Coffee Talk, man. This stuff is like pure.
Is that like most of the Google products that we've used over the years, where it's just you're testing live, and we may shut it down on you and pull the rug out from under you?
You've seen it happen.
Yeah. So when we're talking about security and everything, and I know this is an old discussion topic, but back to wireless, does this mean that we can't use NB-IoT and that we have to use LTE-M? Is because we have to be able to send firmware updates and software updates, and it's harder to do with LoRa and it's harder to do with NB-IoT. What do we think?
I'll tell you right now that I think that this is where the edge device, these edge routers, these edge pieces come into play. Because at that point, that edge device is talking to that NB device.
Yeah.
And it's brokering its conversation as to whether or not it can receive the update. Is this update for you? Do I really give it to you? Are you really who you say you are, Mr. NB-IoT device? And I think that it has to be that broker that happens there. Don't send it all the way back and wait for it to come all the way back down. That's part of what the edge thing was, right? I mean, be closer to the source and deal with it at that level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Andreea, I have a question for you. Since you're in Dallas, are you going to come to the event in Austin in 2 weeks?
I am not signed up for it.
What if you could be signed up for it for free?
It's what's so funny. With 2 minutes left in our talk, I was thinking in 2 minutes, I'll call Rob to talk about that.
Because it could be that two people on this call have these kind of giveaway things that for free. So people
I'd love to.
All right. I'll email you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because it's just a short drive for you.
That's super awesome. Yeah. Actually, I tried to sign up a month ago or so, and I wasn't. Let's just put it. I was kind of rejected.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're there, and there's a big I'll say exclusive event that's happening right now, Cities Today Institute with Bob Bennett and all of the, I mean, you got like 35 or 35 plus cities, leaders. So CIOs, CTOs, and everything like that. And it's not a think tank, it's a think and do tank. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to go this year, but it's pretty awesome in terms of cities getting together and trying to figure out this whole thing about how do we unify the smart city movement.
Yeah.
Because you can, I mean, and it's right there in your backyard.
There you go. And one of the most important things about this event, this IoT AI quantum event in Austin,
yes,
is we have a special guest speaker that is just Mr. Awesomeness. We got Vince Young will be speaking to kick things off at that event. And I'm sure Tom's like, who the hell is Vince Young? But just in case you didn't know, he was this amazing quarterback at the University of Texas. And if you watch the greatest national championship game of all time, UT versus USC, and Vince Young basically had to carry the whole team on his back and beat SC, who, I mean, oh my God. Anyway, I think it's pretty cool that we got Vince Young speaking at this event.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're speaking there, Rob.
Yep.
And I've got a panel I'm moderating there.
Yep. We got some friends there.
Okay, I'm in.
Nice.
Stephanie's going to be there.
Steve Brummer's there speaking, and he's leading a track too. Yeah, everybody's there. Tom, you need to get on the Concorde and fly over.
Yeah. I need to power up the flux capacitor to get the Concorde.
Yes.
And get that working, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, next year for sure. Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely. I feel a bit left out.
Wah, wah. Yeah. No, it sounds like it's gonna be a fun event. There's so many other things. You taking off, Leonard? You know what? Maybe we should take off. Actually.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
At the time. Well, it's been great having everybody. Thanks for joining us on IoT Coffee Talk.
Thanks, guys.
Check us out at iotcoffeetalk.com. Check us out on YouTube. We're on wherever you get your podcasts. This is where the real knowledge happens. We're dropping this knowledge on you for free. Exactly. This is going to enhance your career. If you're somebody who wants to find a job, talk to Tom. He's going to hook you up.
Thanks, Rob.
And he's not just any recruiter guy. He's a B Corp.
Yeah, he'll hook you up with a purpose.
They're right. Because people want purpose. Actually, people need
I like
purpose.
that, Tom, a lot.
I think people need purpose.
Thank you.
In
I
general.
really do.
And I think we got a lot of millennials and Gen Zs that are only interested in working for companies that actually have a bigger purpose. And so, I think it's very timely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great seeing everybody.
All right.
Great seeing you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have fun. Bye now.
Bye.